Sheikh Jassim to increase his bid to 6 billion from 5 according to Ben Jacobs? What's going on? What about Reuters and Bloomberg, who actually is a financial publication, who has no dog in the fight, who is telling the truth? Oh, what happened to Erling Haaland? We could have bought him for 4 million. Glazers out. Hey, buongiorno. There's so many questions. Let's talk about it right here, right now. Cool and composed. Incoming, imminent. Here we go. Here we sprint this week. Good morning. Welcome to MUFC Realist TV. This is Mick Ruby. We are going to talk about a little bit of updates, what's going on with the latest sales takeover Manchester United from back of a report from Ben Jacobs. What is really going on? Because there's been some contradictory reports that Ben Jacobs is saying that Sheikh Jassim is kind of holding on to increase from a 5 billion bid to a 6 billion. Well, we have to sort of look at it from a holistic perspective. So we here to apply a voice of reasoning, looking at the both sides of the story and going back in history. Is this a sales takeover spin, or is it that we're going to believe Bloomberg or Reuters that came out the other 3 months ago to say that the actual bid is actually laid down on the table for 6 or 7? We're also going to talk about another thing, which is the biggest transfer fiasco in Manchester United's history. Yes, we are talking about how we could have actually signed Erling Haaland for only 4 million pounds, to be honest. But please sit and relax. Please have a sip on your coffee. For you that haven't subscribed and liked, you know what to do. We are not like the greedy Glazers here. Please hit that like and subscribe button if you haven't done so, because here we go. Are you ready for the latest news and updates?
Okay.
It's been almost 9 months in the rumblings since the Glazers came out to say that they are looking for strategical investments. And there's been some really, really good reports coming out there, contradictory reports regarding this sports journalist Fabrizio Romano. We're talking about Ben Jacobs. We're talking about Mike Higgins and all them stuff, giving us fans some unrealistic targets and some unrealistic figures, while there's been some NDAs and sign in place. And the latest to come, just to bring this light to the table, what is really going on, right? Let's unpack this cool and composed as what we usually do on this channel. Listen, at the end of the day, Ben Jacobs believed that Sheikh Jassim and bin Hamad Al Thani will increase his Manchester United bid. That is the headlines, people. What does this mean? Well, let's go into this story basically. It says basically the Manchester United takeover expert, expert, excuse me for pausing there, expert. Since when is a sports journalist become a expert in sales takeovers? I thought it was, you got to be a credible, like, in terms of working for Reuters or Bloomberg's, to only work with mergers and acquisitions, only report on daily matters when it comes to financial transactions, that you actually become an expert. But here we go anyway. The story is going that Manchester United takeover Ben Jacobs thinks that Sheikh Jassim could improve his 5 billion bid to buy Manchester United. So wait a minute, you think? So this is pretty much guesswork. So let's continue reading this story, and then we will compare notes to notes with David Hellier and also Reuters as well with Aaron Benson. After flurry activities earlier this year with Sheikh Jassim and Sir John Ratcliffe emerged, the leading contenders to buy Manchester United, there's been virtual silence for months. We're going to talk about why have there been some silence for months, people, as well. So here in general believes that Ben Jacob having a conversation, it seems generally accepted that it is a standoff situation. This is kind of creating a Mexican standoff with the club owners, the Glazers, holding out for a minimum of 6 billion. Yeah, we all know, we all been educated throughout this 10 months process that the asking price has always been, the sweet spot has been 6 billion, and the buyers insisting that they will not budge, having already bidden amounts well excess of United's true market value. Guys, if you actually look at the Forbes evaluation, Manchester United PLC is now worth 4.8 billion pounds on Forbes evaluation. So that is the kind of evaluation what the actual club is worth. So bidding over like 6 billion, it's a lot of money. It's well over the overall evaluations. And there's been some reports to saying that Glazers are willing to stay. Glazers are looking at Sheikh Jassim as the only potential bidder, but also looking to get in bed with Sir Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos to have the voting power still. But that's kind of been debunked at the end of the day because both parties has looked at the overall evaluation of the club and think that is way too much money. The latest report was also saying, which was also debunked, that the Glazers was holding on for 10 billion of potential future earnings, adding on the sponsorship with Adidas, adding on the new sponsorship with Qualcomm or Snapdragon, which was also debunked because the new Adidas deal, it is extension starts to kicking in 2025, and also the Qualcomm is already an existing sponsor with Manchester United that kicking in next season, to be honest. However, subsequently reports what this is saying, that it's claimed that the sale is still very much on. Yes, it's still much on. It's been a little bit paused due to the transfer window. We're going to talk about that as well, because the bid has not met the owner's evaluation, according to Ben Jacobs. Following a poor start of the season, rumors, let's let's highlight this keyword, rumors have also once again emerged saying that the prospective buyers will not increase the bid any further, but Jacobs believe it's tactics. It is tactics. Now, I do respect every single journalist and content creator, but when you come with guesswork and saying this is tactics and this is what you believe, some fan base and some people that really are religiously following this story think that this is the Bible, this is the word. We are just seeing a bits of PR game. Jacobs told to give me sport. Well, it's always been a little bit of a PR game from both sides. It's always been a little bit of a gamemanship, like why would you put your hands if you're playing Texas Hold'em, like to show your cards? There's also certain ways that certain individuals do not have direct contact to the Rainy Group or Sheikh Jassim's 92 Holding Foundation. But most likely, since it's a British company, Ineos, they have certain leaks and snippets coming probably from the Ineos camp as well. Because Manchester United are succeeding on the field, this is speculations. Yes, we are not succeeding on the field. Of course, the suitors are indicating that they don't want to raise the value, which is something they have said pretty consistently. Well, it's been 10 months in the making. Of course, you already put your bid in, so why would you raise your value? Because doesn't really make sense. The timing of the source indicates the timing of the source. There's a lot of people that have, according to my source, incredible sources, saying that the neither group want to go higher. It's obviously synced up with Manchester United's poor run of form, and sends messaging to the media, puts pressure that the Glazers finally make up their minds as far as the group is concerned. Well, hang on a second. Let us just talk about this cool and composed. If Jacob is correct, what he's saying here, the consultants is handling the sale of American tycoons. The Rain Group would presumably advise them to hold the firm and not panic about the team's progress. Well, hold your horses here, guys. I just want to highlight, we've been 10 months in the making. Sheikh Jassim and Ineos have spent numerous amounts of lawyer fees. They've been traveling up and down, spending millions of dollars to get this over the line, right? The timing, according to this, it's a multi-billion dollar deal, right? This timing, it's normal, right? You don't see a fast turnaround that on the flick of a switch that you will have a sales resolution. There's been instances, according to my experience, clubs are getting sold or business taking about 2 years or sometimes up to 1 year. So we are on track. So Jacobs himself insists that Sheikh Yassin could increase his bid. Well, hold my beer there, increase his bid. Because at the end of the day, like there's been reports to say that, Ineos is out of the race. And, there's been an exclusivity bid with Sheikh Jassim going back all the way from 3 months. I'm going to talk about that as well. So why would he increase his bid if he had exclusivity? Like, we seen reports, before the transfer window kicked in that, Sheikh Jassim put his final offer. He went around the kitchen table. He went around the Rainy Group to say, I had enough. He went to the Glazers and to ask them, what is your first and final offer? What would you expect? And then we saw some reports coming out that is around 67.2 billion. What was the offer from Sheikh Jassim? So why all of a sudden, I asked the question, are we now seeing 5 billion to increase to 6 billion? Of course, so there's kind of a little bit of a speculations, but I just want to bring this to the table. Um, Guys, excuse my bluntness, because you know when you actually talking about, like, you some people are saying that certain sports journalists, including Fabrizio and Ben Jacobs, are kind of um, takeover experts. I mean, takeover experts doesn't really make any sense, and then you see the back of Debbie Hellier from Bloomberg that came out on 28th of June to say the Qatar group is still confident in winning the Manchester United bid. It was kind of put on hold due to the approach of the transfer window. The original idea, I think, from the Glazers and from Rainy Group, according to my opinion, who is on a commission-based state, Rain Group are so keen to sell this club, and Rain Group are there to advise the Glazers for the best bid that is available on the table. At the end of the day, as long as this drag out, because Glazers are currently in a really, really bad financial situation. We saw in the transfer market, we were granted 120 million, which was already pledged in December for the summer window in terms of an overdraft. This is the last overdraft that the club can ever take, because we are over 1 billion in debt, and Bank of America has granted this overdraft for the transfer window in the summer, which we had to utilize and finesse the deals. It ended up so bad that we had to go on the loan deal market to actually loan Sofian Amrabat instead of buying him, which bought Erik ten Hag at least a squad that he hasn't been able to put, to action as of yet, because we had over 10 injury players or 11 injury players. It is kind of a little bit of unprecedented. So I never seen almost a full squad or starting 11 being injured in the beginning of a preseason, and then to say due to lack of bad performances and off the pitch shenanigans that the club evaluation might drop. Yes, we've seen the share price drop, but not really what the club is worth and what the real bids are. Now, if you go back in timeline, I just want to prove a point, agents, ladies and gentlemen, who's absolutely watching this progress. We just can have to look at what Bloomberg's coming out to say here as well. This was actually reported June 16th by Aaron Benson. If you remember, Aaron Benson was spot on to say that, exclusivity, right? If you remember this, you go back 3 months in time where Reuters come in and to say that Manchester United negotiating exclusivity with Qatar Sheikh Jassim in the 6 billion plus sales talks. Is this kind of sports journalists are 3 months behind, or just trying to get this gravy train of clickbait going so they can sell publications? That is the big question. But never do you see Bloomberg's or Reuters tweeting daily or reporting daily about the sales takeover. When they do have something to say, they say it with chest, because they get sources directly from Rain Group, or they speak directly with the club itself, because they're Bloomberg's, they're Reuters, they're financial publications. So let's have a look at it, because I clearly remember this, and I clearly spoken to Aaron Bunsen. So just going to play a little bit of video clip without getting done by copyright. So hopefully we can play this and you can hear this as well.
Manchester United, one of the world's most iconic sports brands, could finally be poised for a sale. That's after the Qatari bid for the English football club was reportedly granted exclusivity, according to sources familiar with the matter.
Yes, this was actually 3 months ago where Qatari was actually granted exclusivity. That means that they had evaluated 2 bids, Sheikh Jassim's bid, 92 Holding Foundation, and Ineos bid, and came to a conclusion that Sir Ineos or Sir Ratcliffe's bid is out of the water. It's not enough, and basically granted exclusivity with one racehorse, which is Sheikh Jassim.
A consortium led by Qatar's Sheikh Jassim bin Hamad Al Thani is thought to have offered more than $6 billion for total control of.
Well, there you go. 3 months ago, it was they offered more than 6 billion in total control of Manchester United.
United, the exclusivity would mean that, for a time, the club won't negotiate with any other bidder.
So that means that the club will not negotiate with any other bidder. So that means that whatever you're reading here regarding putting an extra bid on top, improve the bid, Sheikh Jassim is the preferred bidder, the exclusivity bidder. And that means that Ratcliffe's out of the race if you apply logic and reasoning and if you go back in timeline.
United are currently controlled by the American Glazer family, whose tenure in charge has seen fan protests since they purchased it in a leveraged buyout in 2005.
That is a shame. That is the biggest financial crime of the history of the century, to be honest. But the fan protest has been working. The attack against the sponsors has been working. The latest 1958 regarding the sit down has also been working. Glazers are absolutely scared, right? Because one thing that they don't like is to have somebody hurting the wallet. And how you can do that is by raising your protest louder and attacking the sponsorship and having a sit down where there's actually cameras. When there's BT Sports, Sky Sports, they're broadcasting. That kind of works. So we should keep piling that pressure.
We want Glazers and we want Glazers!
A source told Reuters the Glazers would be cashing out as part of the deal.
Yeah, they will be cashing out part of the deal because going back in time and history, applying logic and reasoning, because the reason why they went out for a strategical investment because they're broke. They've been leveraging the club. They've been leveraging credits in the transfer market. Everything is leveraged. The stadium is falling apart. We know the story, right? Why is the reason why we have so many injuries? Because the training facilities is not up to the latest technology and standards. Nothing has been done. Nothing has been done. And if you look at the amount of money that needs to be poured in to just fix those problems, to rebuild a new stadium or to refurbish, Old Trafford is going to take a lot of money and resources, and that is something that the Glazers simply don't want to do. Furthermore, the Buccaneers is also in big troubles as well. They own Bank of America as well, or I think it's J.P. Morgan, about $300 million. Or I think we know that the Glazers are owning the Buccaneers, and they are in financial trouble as well. As we're currently living in almost the biggest financial crisis, the credit crisis that we've seen since 2008, it's going to get worse. Inflation, recessions, and nobody wants to invest. That's the thing. So take it or leave it, Glazers. Like if you get 6 billion, according to my opinion, somebody's coming to pay off your credit card bill that you've been racking up that is over 1 billion, right? And everyone, single of you, 6 siblings, gets to walk away with 1 billion each in your pocket, and off you go. Simple that's Glazonomics, right? So anything else, I rather believe Reuters and what's coming out from Sheikh Jassim's camp, 92 Holding Foundation, and Bloomberg.
Finance expert Neil Joyce.
The Qatar bid looks cleaner on many, many levels to fans, to the people that work at the club as well. But also, I guess ultimately they've hit a point in terms of their bid that's got the Glazers to move forward in this direction.
And that is coming down to the money. When he says cleaner, there is no complications, We're just reiterating, going back to timeline to sort of recap things, because Ineos put in a very confusing bid. Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is not cash rich. They are tied into a lot of assets, right? So the original bid that came in, that they would say we will do down payment installments. We will give you about 2.4 billion now, and the rest we will take in kind of like installments to see how the club share price is performing, right? So the only deal that could work in that case, like in a premium buyout from Ineos 3 years down the track, is if the stock price is trailing high. But at this moment, it's not. It's below $20 per share. So, and also we have the legal challenges regarding the minority, stakeholders, that they don't really like what Sir Jim Ratcliffe is doing. There's been reports to saying that the minority investors like Lindsay Train, Bowen Group, and Arias are threatening to sue if this deal pulls through with Ineos. So, therefore, it is what it is. My conclusion is that 3 months ago, Sir Jim Ratcliffe was out of the water.
The Reuters sources say the Qatari offer is viewed more favourably than a rival bid from British billionaire Jim Ratcliffe, founder of chemicals producer Ineos. Ratcliffe's offer envisions that the Glazers would keep some interest in Manchester United.
Well, some interest means that, anyway, Glazers own about 115 million Class B shares, right? In layman's terms, any of those sales will be then converted to Class A shares, which is the normal retail shares that normal people like you and me can own as well. But anyway, if they sit there with 20%, they have 10 times more voting power. So they wanted to sit there on the board and have a say, while Sir Jim Ratcliffe wants to have approximately like 51% ownership, right? That gives him a little bit over 52, depends on how much money. But the Glazers, at the end of the day, wants to cash out. If there's one thing we learned is about the Glazers, is they only care about money.
Reuters could not immediately learn how long an exclusivity period for Sheikh Jassim would last. The sources also cautioned that a new bid from Ratcliffe could still derail the process.
Which we haven't seen or which we haven't heard. So at the end of the day, if we're coming down to the story itself, if we're coming down to Ben Jacobs as well, what he's saying, and what everyone is saying, if you listen to if people are asking Fabrizio Romano, if you ask Ben Jacobs, if you ask Mike Higgins, I would say guys, I really respect those in terms of sports journalism when it comes to football, but I rather listen to Bloomberg and Reuters when it comes to takeover experts. In this case, I think this is a lot of fluff. This is a lot of guesswork. I think it's a lot of clickbait. Why would you then report that all of a sudden 5 billion bid increased to 6 billion, where the initial bid is been reported by 6 to 7.2 billion? Let alone, is this to, you have to clear the debt, and, is this the net that we start talking about, or, the gross, what we're talking about? At the end of the day, we were looking at Sheikh Jassim. He's looking to increase, to do the whole package 100%, 100%. And this is what excites me, right? This is what excites me. Somebody to come in and clear the debt. At the end of the day, it's a shame that the Glazers walking away as winners in this deal. But it's a long-term pain for a long-term vision and gain, because we as club cannot continue this path anymore. We cannot compete anymore with the Glazers. They're blocking every manager's signing. And speaking about every manager's signing, guys, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think what I've been saying all along, and what my personal belief is, that we're going to see some movements here within the next couple of weeks, and that we have some form of announcement in November? And yeah, drop a comments below. Let me know in this video as well. So we're going to talk about how the Glazers have messed up this transfer window. It's a little bit of a blunder, peeps. It's a little bit blunder, because this does my head in, basically. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had an interview, and we are going to talk about Manchester United 4 million error. One of the biggest transfer fails in history at Old Trafford. This comes back on the back of the report by Erling Haaland, which was then recommended by Ole Gunnar Solskjaer to say, look, you know what? I have a fantastic striker. He's going to be the next up-and-coming, the thing, that I used to manage. He was a young kid at Mulder. I managed him. I raised him. I taught him everything that I know. And he's available for £5 million. So why do I keep on saying billion? Just because I was speaking about the takeover. Excuse me. Because it's really difficult to say that it is the blunder of a transfer window, because the Glazer overruled it, said no. He's not a sexist shirt signer. He's not what we are used to sign. Why should we sign him? No, say no. So what happened? What? It's really difficult to believe that City is now sitting on this price asset, right? That scored 52 goals in his maiden season with City. Ouch, that hurts. But Ole Gunnar Solskjaer had an interview with The Athletic, and he claimed that the Norwegian coach pushed hard to sign Haaland, who at that time was a teenager, the change of being at United. But the Glazers worked it out and said no. He said basically no to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and it was a 4 billion deal back in 2018. So he went to Red Bull Salzburg instead before to sign to Borussia Dortmund and eventually ended up at Manchester City for 51 million pounds. 55 million pounds. Of course, there was a release clause. And how much did we pay for Rasmus Højlund, who some people are claiming to be, well, the next prodigy of Haaland? It's yet early to say, but it's a very costly mistake, according to my opinion. Imagine, guys, just imagine if we had a Erling Haaland. This has been Mick Ruby with a snappy update, but please, guys, let me know in the comment section below. Do you think we will have a resolution? Do you think that the sports journalists claim to be takeover experts are just speculating to say that Sheikh Jassim will increase his bid to 6 billion, while already Bloomberg and Reuters are reporting that the bid actually is about 6 to 7 billion? Who is in the right? Who do you believe? Do you believe the British sports journalists, or do you actually believe the finance publications in Bloomberg and Reuters that they have no dog in the fight? Please, guys, smash a like in the comments below there. Don't be afraid to subscribe if you haven't. It's been Mick Ruby here from MUFC Realist TV, having my say until we see you till next time. Have a great day. Talk to you later. Bye for now.